What are the key priorities driving digital transformation across the U.S. Department of Defense? How does Zero Trust undergird the entire DOD digital modernization effort? And what does the future hold for DOD's information enterprise? I'll explore these questions and so much more with my very special guest, Lily Zeleke, Acting Deputy Chief Information Officer, Information Enterprise at the U.S. Department of Defense. Lily, what are your specific duties and responsibilities as Acting Deputy CIO for Information Enterprise at DOD? And perhaps you can share with us what a day in the life, a week in the life of somebody in this role.
Well, first, I'll start by saying, as I explained, we enable a department-wide execution of strategic guidance and operationally effective, but also fiscally responsible. So that there's that piece of it. So we enable IT policy guidance, but that doesn't mean like we write a piece of paper and throw it across the board. It requires and then expect people to sort of just pick it up and implement. I mean, we oversee and manage ongoing enterprise IT capabilities and the modernization and reform initiatives. For example, various architecture for implementation, enterprise architecture. So there is the implementation piece that we oversee. And as oversight, I think it's such a nebulous word that people think, oh gosh, they're going to sit in the glass house. But what we really do is when I tell people oversee means, I'm your enabler. I remove barriers, but also I'm the guard. I'm the one that says, here's the guardrail, like don't fall off the cliff. Right. So as an overseer, I have all these responsibilities on a daily basis, but also, my team within the DCIO-IE, just taking care of people and the people that enable and the smart people that work on all the projects that we do and leading them and guiding them in a way that makes sense. These are the things that Lily does, day to day.
You've shared with us the mission, the important mission, the enterprise mission that you are leading and enabling the DoD to realize to keep the country secure. So I'm wondering, what are the key strategic priorities in your portfolio?
So right now, one of the biggest ones that we're driving is a software modernization implementation. The deputy signed out the strategy about a year ago. And it lays out foundational things to the cloud and software, modern software paths that I alluded to earlier, but that is our future, where we're heading, where I talked about the to be. And honestly, we're slowly walking it already. So that is really a big initiative area. In addition, business systems, I mentioned earlier. So those are the today, the current, it's not just business systems, really existing IT systems, but we're focused on business systems right now because like I said, it is sort of an area where the technical debt is very quantifiable, or at least we can see it, and we need to start really getting after that. So that is also a focus area. And many of the things that I mentioned here really, focus on workforce is also a challenge, and that we're going to have to deal with workforce processes. So these are really the as-is and the future, and the in-between, what are the barriers that we are going to have to deal with, the process changes, the, upskilling and the workforce piece, as well as the people piece, taking care of our people, because without the people, none of this really matters or even is possible.
That's great. And I was wondering, perhaps you could, for the audience, kind of walk them through the DoD software modernization strategy and how does it seek, as you just alluded to kind of speed up software delivery times and steer better coordination across all of these services?
So the DoD software modernization strategy laid out 3 goals. The first goal is accelerate the DoD enterprise cloud environment. What that means is really the ability to have the ready access to the industry capability and the service capabilities that cloud offers. So one of the things that we're doing, and you've heard about the Joint Warfighter Cloud Capability, JWCC, in the works. It's a multi-cloud, multi-vendor, direct acquisition, ability to have direct acquisition from the cloud service providers, the services and capabilities that we need in the, from in the cloud. That is really the kind of things that this accelerate the DoD enterprise cloud environment brings to us. And this is so critical because we need to have this cloud, our ability to, traverse in the cloud from not just CONUS to OCONUS outside of the continental United States, which I think you may have heard referred to as the tactical edge. We need to have that seamless global connectivity. And that's really what this is going to drive. And one of the things I want to emphasize here is when we talk information enterprise and collaboration capabilities and the kind of things we talk about, these are services and contracts and people. So a lot of the work that goes on requires really flexible ways to acquire these services and capabilities. The things that gets us out of the business of doing cloud and to the business of doing the mission, for example. So that really helps us in that regard. And the second goal is to establish a department-wide software factory ecosystem. And what that is really being able to institute modern software practices like DevSecOps. And what that stands for is really sort of combining and integrating the development, the cybersecurity, the security piece, and the ops, the folks that are working on those and the systems, and integrating them so we have quicker decision, quicker delivery, quicker identification of problems, and being able to institute the security right through and bake it across, end to end in development to operation. And that enables us to develop and deliver the software and just continue to update the software in more, we're not at real time yet, but near real time. So that is the software factories ecosystem and being able to advance that. And really, how many software factories does it take? Well, it takes as many as it takes for us to be able to do our mission is really where we're at with that. And then the goal 3 is transform processes to enable resilience and speed. So I think I touched on that, but really this is what we're talking about when we talk the DoD processes of current, the current processes have to evolve. The way we acquire systems, that's why we work hand in hand with the acquisition community to make sure that the way we acquire software changes, because our current acquisition processes have a lot of steps that we have to go through. And, for ships and planes, it works. For software, not so much. So we have to evolve the way we acquire software. In addition, how we develop, again, R&D processes, what worked for ships and jets, like I said, is not working for software. So that's why we need like the software factories and the DevSecOps practices, the software containers, so we can reuse and not have to reinvent every time. The ability to utilize what we've delivered and done already, and not continue to tie up in processes. The same with cybersecurity. So we want to, for example, the continuous authorization to operate is one of the things that we're, a very heavy working, which will enable, the ability to have that authorization, if we're talking DevSecOps, that authorization on a continuous basis, because you're continuously checking and rechecking through automation and through continuous monitoring to be able to do those things. So these are the things, and of course the workforce, the process I talked about, falls into the transformation of processes to be able to do the things that we've outlined in goal 1 and 2. And this is going to be sort of we're going to walk this incrementally when we come out with the implementation plan. It's going to be, probably for every couple of years, we're going to update it. It's going to have to be agile. And agile just means that you're able to pivot if necessary without breaking mission and without losing too much time. So that's the way we're also even looking at the implementation plan. So that's in a nutshell what our software modernization strategy lays out.
That's wonderful. Great context. And I want to combine a couple of follow-up questions that I had, because you introduced a couple of concepts and a couple of things that maybe our listeners aren't familiar with. So, maybe you could tell us, what are software factories? And, regarding DevSecOps and the practices, how have these factories sort of embraced that concept in the modernization journey?
So those are great questions, Michael. The software factories, I say it's the same factory that develops these, warfighting capabilities, our ships and planes. However, we're really integrating now the folks that do cybersecurity, the folks that develop the software, the folks that, maybe, test them, the folks that ultimately operate them, and bring them closer. So they are doing their coordinating, and we're not having to pass off from, process to process, which takes time, but also introduces uncertainties in many ways. So it's cutting out the middle time, the middle process, the middle man, automating a lot of these things. It's not in a perfect state, but really that's what the software factories aim to do. And that's where we would like that to be a normal practice in the department eventually, because then we're able to have all the capabilities in one place. And it doesn't mean that, the way you build ships and the way you build planes, you have the same kind of construct, but you have variations there. But you can develop software factories for ships, maybe for planes, for capability areas. So this is how we're looking at it. It's a developing, I would even say it's not a concept. It's not just a concept anymore. We are implementing it across, but we're working to evolve it and make it better and better. But really, that's what software factories are, because we've been doing software for years. It's not like we're just beginning to do software. So we're just making it better and cutting out unnecessary steps. I'm not saying they were not necessary at one point, but now we have technologies like AI and ML and automation and other things that enable us to, advance quicker, get products out quicker, update, software much quicker. So these are the things that software factories, DevSecOps, when you hear things like that, I'll even throw another one, infrastructure as code, which is basically like the ability to lay out an infrastructure, once you have it laid out and developed, then you shouldn't have to keep repeating the same process. So, if you package that in a nice way and containerize it, then others can use it. So these are the amazing things that, these smart people are doing, and what I'm trying to help advance, from my seat, trying to remove barriers, but also make sure that we're not going too fast to the point where, we implode. So these are the things.
Yeah, it's a balancing act to really evolve. And, it's a great transition to the next question I had, which is, moving to the cloud, as I understand it, is integral to the department's modernization efforts. But as you said in many conversations, that it's not about cloud for cloud's sake. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit, give us a window into the department's cloud strategy, and perhaps you could outline, more importantly, the benefits of pursuing a hybrid and/or multi-cloud approach.
So it's such a great question because it wraps up in a really nice bow the things I'm talking about right now, right? The things that I've mentioned already. So when we talk hybrid, it sounds sort of nebulous, but it's really that connecting tissue that I talked about, because you have legacy capabilities here that, as we continue to rationalize and to assess and to, continuously move applications into the cloud, we find that some of them may not be able to move. So you're going to have to, do an on-premise or a data center, and maybe upgrade that capability to make sure that these systems can be as efficient and as modified as possible, but they may not be able to move to a commercial cloud. So that gap and that need for both, the on-prem and maybe even the data centers and then the commercial cloud, that is the hybrid world that we live in right now. So that is really the world that me in my seat here must balance, as you say, and must implement as we integrate the future, with our existing and with our past in all the systems that we have today, and as we interconnect them, as we make delivery of services at a maybe enterprise level. Not everything can be enterprised, by the way. As an information enterprise leader, some may want me to say like everything must be, no, we sometimes, we got to federate. We got to let folks do what they do best. So we give them a common, layer of architecture, a common layer of requirements, technical requirements, operational requirements, business requirements, and then allow them to connect to that layer. So these are the things that makes the need for where we are today in our world, for the hybrid approach and the multi-cloud, as I explained earlier. It means that, the ability to have the various cloud service offerings from the different CSPs, our services and the department across the board has variations of cloud offerings, and JWCC brings additional complementary offerings, including the ability to do across all classification levels, on class, secret, and top secret, and also being to get out all the way to the tactical edge, which is really, really a challenging one for us, especially for boots on the ground where they're disconnected and remote areas, the ability to do that. And that's actually an area of challenge we're still tackling, but that is the other piece that we look at. So when you look at these variations and requirements and just the vastness of the mission requirement itself, that it is not a one swoop, like everyone pick up and go to the cloud. It doesn't work that way. And really the software modernization implementation plan and the things I laid out earlier recognize that. And this is really a walk. We're going to have to walk, and some of the things we may figure out that we have to pivot in different ways. But that is really what we're embarking on and we're going to do.
So, Lily, are there any other key accomplishments you'd like to highlight, and what does the future hold for your office?
So, again, I think the software modernization implementation plan is our major initiative that we're driving, which will result in many different areas that we're going to address. I think I mentioned infrastructure as code to sort of be the backbone of some of the things that we talk about, like zero trust, because you got to do things at speed. You got to do things to turn very quickly. Also, the tactical edge. being able to address, being able to get information from end to end globally is going to be the most critical piece in our implementation of software and cloud and all these things we talk about. So the OCONUS cloud strategy was released in May 2021, and we are really doing a lot of things in that area, which I hope will hopefully be able to reveal more and more as we do the implementation plan. But we're doing pilot testing for the tactical edge to be able to support the warfighter wherever they are, where they are disconnected and are not able to be able to get to the information, but also like in a denied, disrupted, intermittent, limited, which you've heard us say DDIL environment, which is basically they have to be offensive and defensive and at the same time. So these are the areas that I am very much focused on and the team is focused on, but also as a department, we're driving. So I'll leave it at that.
This has been the Business of Government Hour, a conversation with Lily Zeleke, Acting Deputy Chief Information Officer, Information Enterprise at the U.S. Department of Defense. Be sure to join us next time for another informative, insightful, and in-depth conversation on improving government technology and its effectiveness. Until then, subscribe, download, and listen to the entire interview at Podcast One, iTunes, or on your favorite podcast app, and as always at businessofgovernment.org.